The Last of Us is truly one of, if not the greatest stories ever told. It's got absolutely everything, from the characters, to the emotional music, and the absolutely terrifying locations such as Pittsburgh. Even though the story is so in-depth and didn't need a DLC, a little less than a year after the game was released, Naughty Dog blessed us with what I think is the greatest DLC ever. The Last of Us Left Behind is an expansion that follows the lead up on how Ellie became infected, alongside how she helps Joel when he falls onto the spike. I mean, he probably didn't even need her help because Joel's an absolute badass, but I guess a little help never hurts. Just like my other analysis videos, I'll be talking about every aspect of Left Behind that I find important. This is going to come down to the level design, the story beats, and most importantly, the music. Also, just keep in mind I was playing this on the PS5 remastered version, so if for some reason that affected something from the original DLC, which I don't think it would, I would like to apologize for that now. Without further ado, let's get right into Left Behind, the greatest DLC ever made. The DLC starts off with us reliving some traumatic events from the main story, all the way from Joel falling onto the spike to him falling off the horse. Before we pick up on current day Ellie, we get to start what the main reason for this entire DLC is, and that's Ellie's backstory. We meet Ellie's friend Riley, who is mentioned in the actual story, and she's a pretty cool character. Spoiler alert, her and Ellie do like each other a little bit, so if you're a homophobic scum, just stop watching and go bother someone else. Anyway, Ellie learns that Riley left to go join the Fireflies, which would lead to her moving away, and she's a bit skeptical about the whole situation, but nonetheless, she wants us to go on a little adventure. Before we leave, we go back to present day Ellie, where Joel isn't looking all too good. I love how much Ellie and Joel's relationship develops through the game, and how they both genuinely care for each other after the hell they've been through. After Ellie opens the door, it turns out we're in a mall, and Ellie's trying to find some medicine for Joel. There's a pretty straightforward path to a pharmacy, but unfortunately there's nothing inside the pharmacy. However, we can spot a possible spot for some in another area, but unfortunately the door's locked. There's another store right next to the one we were just inside, and there's a dead pharmacist with a key that we need to open the locked door. Alongside him, there's some pictures of him and his significant other, which makes just seeing his undead corpse even more sad. After leaving the store, we have our first infected encounter of the DLC, but it's just one singular clicker taken down in an instant. Of course, Ellie goes and unlocks the locked door, which unfortunately in the first aid kit there's absolutely nothing for Joel. However, there's a crashed military helicopter that Ellie gets the bright idea to go over to. On the way over there, we find a dead body and a note next to it talking about how the crash happened, along with a medkit. After traveling a bit further, we jump a railing and transfer back to the flashback sequence. We pick up pretty much exactly where we left off, with Riley leading us somewhere, but she won't exactly tell us where. On the way to our mystery location, Riley gives some more information on how she ended up joining up with the Fireflies, and Ellie still seems a little skeptical about everything because of the fact that she's been trained to kill them for most of her life. After evading some soldiers, we finally get to the area that Riley has been leading us to, and the surprise is that it's an abandoned mall. We don't get to the meat and potatoes of the whole mall yet, but Ellie does find some alcohol that of course her and Riley take some swigs of. A little bit after, there's a crawl space that we try to go through, but unfortunately it doesn't work, so going around the debris through the door is the plan. Riley takes longer than expected, so Ellie opens the door and we're greeted by a scary clown! This Halloween shop is just one of the many cool areas that we get to explore, with many things to do, with the first being trying on a wolf mask. Riley requests a roar, and it's pretty pitiful, so we run it back and show her what a real roar sounds like. There's a whole lot of stuff to interact with here, and even some more masks to try on. After that, we get to have a fun little minigame with Riley. She challenges us to a brick throwing contest, which consists of who can break all the windows on their selected car first. After I absolutely destroyed her, we get to ask one question, and I asked her if Marlene had mentioned her mom, to which the answer is pretty much no. After that, we get to go down a hallway and finally get some light to this place, which turns out to be way easier than they thought. With the power on, Riley leads us to a door, and they have a good heart-to-heart about why Riley is doing all this, and Riley ends up apologizing for leaving out of nowhere. Then Ellie makes fun of her for being all emotional, and then they open the door, to which the screen flashbangs us, and we go back to the present. We picked up right where we left off, trying to get up to the military helicopter. Ellie's got to get some power on in order to progress, so that's next up on the agenda. She follows a cord down a hallway, which then leads us to a power source, but unfortunately there's no gas in it, so now we gotta get some gas in it. I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot where I was supposed to go at first, so I spent about 5 to 10 minutes searching for where I was supposed to go. Of course, with me being the silly little guy that I am, I was just overthinking the puzzle, and I just had to check for gas in the vehicles that were in the room. With the power now turned on though, that causes some issues, like all of the water around Ellie is now filled with electricity due to some exposed wire, making us have to platform around it. On the way back to the helicopter, as is Last of Us tradition, we have a few infected encounters to make it through. Luckily though, I'm an epic gamer and can make it through each of these encounters efficiently. With the power back on and the infected cleared out, we can finally make it through the gate and up to the helicopter, where there's actually a first aid kit inside. Unfortunately, Ellie must have some muscle on her because she nearly knocks the whole dang thing over. However, luck is clearly on her side because in the first aid kit is exactly what she needs to fix up Joel. After that, we get to go back to the past and finally see what's behind that door, and what a sight it is. With the power on, we can see a beautifully lit carousel, and Ellie and Riley get to ride it. I love how much childlike glee they all have, even in the messed up world they live in. The ride doesn't last too long though, and we're introduced to the origin of one of Ellie's defining character traits, her stupid dad jokes. Riley whips out a joke book and tells a few before handing it over to Ellie. Quite possibly my favorite part about Left Behind is how once the joke book is handed to Ellie, you can tell all the terrible dad jokes you want, and from my research, it just keeps going on and on and on. Unfortunately, we do have to wrap it up eventually because I got a video to make. One of the next surprises Riley has in store for Ellie is a photo booth. Obviously inside of here we get to take some cute photos and get to choose the type of faces that we want to do. There is a little trouble on getting the pictures, and there's a funny little bit where they don't know what Facebook is. After photo time is done, the kids get to be mesmerized by an escalator, then we get to go into an arcade. Even though the power is on, some of the arcade cabinets aren't working, but thank God for Ellie's somehow really immersive imagination as we get to play a fighting game in her mind. It's just a bunch of quick time events, and because I'm the absolute GOAT, I flawless this loser and kick his head clean off. After the amazing arcade experience, Ellie wants to head back because she can't get in trouble anymore or else she's kaput, and Riley doesn't take this too well and has to leave for the Fireflies, so if Ellie goes, she won't get to see her again. This turns into a whole big argument, and Riley gets a little upsetty spaghetti and runs away from Ellie. Ellie, being the great friend that she is though, chases after her and tries to make things right. This of course leads to even more arguing, but with a little more on Ellie's side of the story about how upset she is that Riley pretty much said F you to our friendship before she left for the Fireflies. In a fiery rage, Riley throws down her bag, revealing some water guns that she nearly got shot for that she got for Ellie. This leads to an epic water gun fight, which is just rigged by the way. I swear, look at how much I'm soaking her. Luckily for me though, there's multiple rounds, and this time I messed her up. After our epic fight, we make up, aww, and everyone apologizes, and they all live happily ever after. Except not quite, but first we gotta have a little dance to celebrate our last day together. I absolutely love this scene. Everything from the music to Riley saying to hell with the Fireflies, and then the two share a kiss. After that though is when reality starts to set back in as a bunch of infected start to swarm the area before we go back to the present. Ellie pretty smoothly gets out of the helicopter and we start the way back to Joel. On the way back, it's discovered that there are not only infected here, but actual people. Most of the people are just focusing on the infected, so it actually makes for some really fun encounters. There are a whole bunch of encounters on the way to Joel, and I have no clue where each and every single one of these people came from. As you get to the place where Joel is, a whole big gang of people show up, and there are honestly way more people than I feel like there should be, but it's whatever. We clear out these guys lickety-split and go give the medicine to Joel, but before that we have to return to the past one last time. We return right where we left off with the infected chasing us down. It's honestly a pretty tense sequence, even though I know how things are gonna go down. There's a bunch of twists and turns everywhere, but eventually and unfortunately Ellie gets caught, but Riley jumps back from safety to save her, with Ellie doing the same when Riley gets attacked. After the infected are taken care of, it's quickly discovered that both Ellie and Riley have been bit, and my goodness does Ashley Johnson give such a good and panicked performance for this scene. We cut back to Ellie giving Joel some medicine for a quick scene before immediately jumping back to the terrible infection scene. The two girls talk about how they're going to go about the whole thing. Riley has a whole speech about death, and it's intercut with Ellie dragging Joel around after giving him the stuff he needs. Eventually, they decide they're going to lose their minds together, and Riley apologizes for the terrible mess she put Ellie through, which ends Left Behind. And there you have it. That's one of the best DLCs in gaming, Left Behind. The Last of Us is one of my favorite games of all time, and while I didn't initially play through the DLC, I'm glad that I went back and played it. We tried something a little different today, and I might be starting something where I alternate the video I put out each week, with one week being a Nintendo related video and another week being a non-Nintendo video. If you guys like that format, be sure to let me know, and if you don't like it, that sucks for you because I already have plans for the schedule. I want to thank you guys though for the absolutely amazing continued support. I know it might seem small to some of you, but the fact that on my more recent videos I'm putting a lot of time and effort into to get hundreds of views is enough for me to stay motivated and keep making videos for y'all. I have a goal to reach 100 subscribers by the end of the summer, and if that happens, I'll do a 100 subscriber special. I don't quite know what it'll be yet, but I'll figure it out, and I'm sure it's going to be awesome. So yeah, that's your hint to like and subscribe, especially since you made it all the way to the end of the video. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed my little DLC analysis, and have a great rest of your day.